next inductee is longtime horseman and philanthropist Charles Juravinski.
I first drove horses when I was about 4 years old. I thought I was driving horses because I would sit on the wagon, and when my father would empty out the buckets in the outdoor toilets and dump them into a tank in the summertime, hack them out with a crowbar in the wintertime, and then when we went down the alley to the next house, I'd say, "Giddy up." And of course the horses knew what they were doing and moved along. That was my first indication with reference to horses.
Born in Saskatchewan during the Depression, Charles Juravinski's family moved to Hamilton in 1942.
We heard that the streets were paved with gold in the province of Ontario because people were able to work. My father and 3 of his friends drove from Saskatchewan in a 1928 Chevrolet and came to Hamilton, Ontario, and of course immediately went to work. The only thing that grabs you at that time is to work to try to help your family and earn some money. School didn't matter, and of course I chose to quit school, but I worked through the 15 to the 16, and then I was able to go out into industry, did various jobs in industry. I worked at the Dominion Glass, I worked at the Sovereign Potteries, I worked at the Westinghouse, kept trying things, and then gravitated to a construction company called Pigott Construction Company at that time.
From the mid to late 1950s, he worked in construction and then was co-founder of a Dundas-based construction company. After that venture closed, Charles and former Ontario PC Cabinet Minister Ray Connell opened the standardbred racetrack Flamboro Downs in Dundas in 1975.
The most interesting person that I had ever dated, and ambitious, very ambitious. I knew he'd be a success in some fashion.
And I'll never forget, he had his trademark white shoes on, gray slacks with a crease so sharp I didn't dare touch the crease. I thought I might cut my finger. His traditional cigarette in hand, and he was busy staying on top of everything in his usual manner. And that was the first encounter I had with Charles Juravinski.
Charlie's a flamboyant gentleman. I think he steps off the curb of flamboyancy and into audacious.
Charles is someone who devotes himself to the task at hand. And at the risk of playing to the audience here, Charles is an athlete. He works very, very hard at what he does.
Got to know Charlie quite quickly when we were racing in the Confederation Cup. I remember one year I was racing in it, and after the first elimination, he came down and he told the drivers, he said, "Listen guys, you're not going fast enough with these horses. You got to go a little bit faster so the public is going to enjoy these races a little bit more for the final." And I kind of caught on to who Charlie was right then and there.
And Charles, with one of the original partners, Ray Connell, wanted to do something innovative for both the fans and the horse people. And the first thing that comes to mind is the bank turns.
And it would help the horses going around a track, castigated for that, dead wrong, nobody's going to race on the track, etc. Well, we did.
Charles wanted to implement was the passing lane.
Nobody ever heard of a passing lane, and our horsemen said, we won't race there, etc. And they fought me and so forth, and I said, hey, if you don't want to race, you don't want to race. I'm going to put it in, and you don't have to use it. Well, I'll tell you, once they discovered the passing lane, and anybody that goes to the harness races today, the first time a guy ducked in and was able to get into the passing lane, win the race, everybody goes for a passing lane.
And we wanted to have a race that had a Canadian flavor, a Canadian name to it, that would become a tradition over the years. And we decided that the Confederation Cup for 3-year-old pacers would be the best way to go.
Which was a new creation in order to promote Flamboro Downs across the broader racing community, and has been very successful.
And he constantly proved his critics wrong. Longevity. I mean, to have a business running 30 years in this day and age, you know, it's almost unheard of.
He managed this very successful facility for almost 3 decades before selling it in 2003. Charles, as an owner, was connected with many outstanding horses, including Hall of Famers Matt's Scooter and the great mare Ellamony.
And one of the most exciting things was watching the horse that we owned win $1 million races. Like, who'd have ever dreamt?
Following his retirement, Charles and his wife Margaret have made considerable endowments to the city of Hamilton and McMaster University, permitting the establishment of a new state-of-the-art cancer care facility at the former Henderson General Hospital, now the Juravinski Hospital and Cancer Center.
I had the personal misfortune of my wife passing 2.5 years ago, and Charlie's hospital commitment made her last month special. And I'll appreciate Charlie for horse racing forever, but I'll remember him beyond that for what he did for me.
Charles and Margaret are extremely passionate about their people-oriented help charities.
So our community, even today with the generosity that he and Margaret have shown to our community, just shows us all that there are certain values we can all ascribe, and he walks the walk.
The name Juravinski, it's on a hospital, but it's, you know, it's imprinted on horse racing statue somewhere that hasn't been built.
A much-deserved member of the Hamilton Sports Hall of Fame, class of 2017, Charles Juravinski.